Welcome in to CHGO and the Bears Podcast. And look at my guy Stink, the three-time Super Bowl champion, who is always ready for the NFL season. Mark Schlereth, what do you got in front of you today? I know you're teaching us how to tailgate, which we could all use a little bump on, but you are the best at it. So good to see you, my friend.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. One thing I love about football brings communities together, right? And there's no better place to do that than in your own kitchen. So let's start with the tailgate necessities. The television, number one, LG OLED TV, award-winning 65-inch OLED C2 series, the best picture quality, realistic colors, sharp images, no blurring during fast motion scenes, movies, gaming, sports, 42 to 97 inches, LG.com for more information. Then no party's complete without pizza, Papa John's Pizza, the thin crust pizza, uncut in the shape of a real football with Papa John's signature pepperoni for your fantasy drafts, tailgates, home gates, papajohns.com. By the way, nationally, it's available through September 25th for only $10.99. Then we'll go to the Bush's Baked Beans because every tailgate, you got to have the baked beans, whether it's hot dogs or burgers. Bush's Baked Beans, the sure side of a good time. Bush's Original or their grilling beans, family secret recipe with cured bacon, fine brown sugar, signature spices. And they stand alone. They're a standalone meal at my house, for crying out loud. Bushbeans.com, And then Slick Deals. I love this. Community of millions working together to save you money. 12 million users vet and vote for the best deals on the internet, the best products, the best prices from the best vendors. Right now, they've got all kinds of home gating and tailgating things on sale. You can set an alert and you'll get notified when it meets your criteria. Slickdeals.net for more information.
Stink, fantastic performance. Love it. One-stop
Thank
shop.
you.
Look at you. All right. So, hey, you're landing in Chicago this morning. A lot of people think the Bears are going to be, if not the worst team in the league, in the bottom three. Where do you have Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a team right now that's trying to find their way, trying to find an identity, a new coach, a young quarterback who, no question, is dynamic, is athletic. But what does he become? I think all those things are interesting questions. This offensive line historically has not been very good here in the last few years. And so I think there's a lot more questions about the Chicago Bears than there are answers for sure. So, are they a bottom third team? Probably. But are they do they seem to be building in the right direction? I think that's what you have to ask yourself. And I think the answer to that would be yes. So, that's what I love about the football season, though. We can sit there and say that all day long, but you come together, you play for one another, things work out for you, and the next thing you know, you can go from that kind of outhouse to the penthouse. So we'll see exactly what they become. That's why we play these games. So I'm excited for their opportunities. I'm excited for their young quarterback in Justin Fields.
Well, you played 12 seasons. You won 3 Super Bowls, as we already mentioned. You played guard. You were a 10th-round pick, Mark Schlereth, and the Bears are turning to Braxton Jones, a 5th-round draft pick out of Southern Utah, a college team that won 1 game last year, and say, hey, dude, step in and play left tackle on day 1. Does that seem realistic to you?
Well, yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have been realistic for me as a 10th rounder to get my first start as a rookie in Philadelphia against the number 1 defense in football. But you know what? Those are the things that happen to you. So there's a way, and this comes down to how you call plays to me more than anything else. For a young guy to have success at that position especially, you have to be great from coordinating an offense. And what I mean by that is if you're going to throw it 30, 35 times, you've got to eliminate how many one-on-ones that guy has to go through and how many deep drops that guy has to go through. When I consult with football teams, I always talk about taking the passive out of pass protection. So how do you allow me as a player to be the aggressor? How do you allow me to change up my sets, to attack people in pass protection, to give them a different look or something else to think about, to think it's a run when we're really throwing the ball? That comes down to how you coordinate your offense, how you call plays. So I look at a lot of that on the coach. If you want that kid to be successful, then you have to be really good in the way you call plays, the way you structure your offense. So I think those are the things that probably go unsaid oftentimes.
Well, on that side of it, Luke Getsy coming over from Green Bay, first chance to be an offensive coordinator. He's making an early impression here, Mark. I don't know how much you were tracking him with the Packers and even before that as a guy that could really step up, but he's making an impact along with a head coach in Matt Eberflus, who's kind of sitting back and giving his defensive take on things. It seems like the Bears actually have some good chemistry going on in that coaching room, which maybe matters. I don't know. When you look at how the Bears coaching staff came together, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think number one, you talk about Luke Getsy and you talk about that offense, and I know this offense exceptionally well, and it's quarterback friendly. You're going to find completions for your quarterback. I always think about with all the play action stuff off the running game, all the boot keep stuff that you roll, you walk into any game, you should be right off the bat. Just off of that, if you're efficient running the football and you're committed to running the football, your quarterback's 10 for 10, 12 for 12 right out of the gate, because you're going to get a bunch of easy completions. And then it's the other, if you can go 12 for 12 on all that run action, play action stuff, well, then it's the other, 15 passes you throw. Okay. Can you complete 50% of those? So like you set yourself up for success. And then, for Luke, it's just a matter of being on time, being on schedule. And I think for the quarterback as well, being on schedule is the most important thing. The other thing is that I think all young quarterbacks have issues with, especially gifted athletic quarterbacks, is retraining your default mechanism. So when things break down, do you default from the neck up or do you default from the neck down? So if you're relying on athleticism as your default mechanism, you'll make some plays, but unfortunately, in my experience, you'll give up more plays than you actually make. You'll put your team in harm's way more often than not. So that's a learning process that you have to go through. And I think it's harder for the athletically gifted guys than it is for the guys that are just traditionally pocket dudes. So that's something that's going to take time, and that's a work in progress for your young quarterback.
I want to rewind back, and I got another quarterback question, but first I want to rewind back to the offensive line. The Bears are asking Teven Jenkins to slide inside and play guard. He's dealt with back issues and didn't have success before, but now is kind of thriving in the middle. You, of course, were a guard. How hard is it to make that transition? You played it in college too, so I'm sure you have somewhat of a feel of what it's like for a guy to, okay, you were playing outside, now you're playing in.
Yeah, well, it's a much easier transition. It's much harder to go from inside to outside. Outside is just out there in the water. It's just a much tougher position to play. But when you go inside, what you have to think about is I'm protected on both edges, right? I've got a center on one side of me. I got a tackle on the other side of me. So it's a much easier transition to go inside. Now, things happen a little bit quicker on the inside, right? You're a little closer to the defender. So there's a little bit more communication that goes on the inside, a little bit tighter defenders and all that kind of stuff, a little less time to react, but it's a much easier, just to be honest with you, it's a much easier position, much easier to play guard in the National Football League than it is to play tackle in the National Football League. So most guys that go from outside to inside have success doing it. And we've seen that over the course of time in the league, where a guy who's been an average tackle can slide inside and become, a really good inside player.
That's what the Bears are banking on with Teven. So, hey, well, let's simplify this for you. It makes a ton of sense. All right,
yeah.
Back to the quarterback. So we have Fields. Let's look at last year's class. I guess, you got to say that Mac Jones had the best year. Patriots make the playoffs. Nobody really expected that. Congrats to Mac. Year 2, who do you think makes the biggest jump? Bears are seeing Trey Lance opening week. Trevor's in a much better situation. Zach Wilson, we'll see it when he gets on the field in that situation. And then, of course, Justin. If Mark Schlereth is making a bet on which quarterback makes a major year 2 jump, who are you going with?
Well, Mac Jones, to me, obviously, like you said, had the best rookie season. But how much can he elevate? And how much does it hurt not having Josh McDaniels as your offensive coordinator, right? Because they were so in sync and so in tune with one another. And now you're saying, hey, we don't really need an offensive coordinator. We'll use Matt Patricia, former defensive coordinator, former head coach of the Lions, or Joe Judge, former special teams coach / former Giants head coach. So, that one to me feels like more of a regression. I'm not sure about Jacksonville. I'm not sure about the culture of Jacksonville. So I would reserve, the Trevor Lawrence huge jump stuff. Zach Wilson with the Jets, I don't trust them as well. So I would say the guy that has the biggest room for improvement, the biggest jump, is Justin Fields. And, I think that's a pretty safe bet to me, based on, the way he played last year and based on what's going on this year in that offense and new offense under Luke Getsy, where they're gonna hang their hat on that outside zone, that inside zone, and all the play action, the boot action stuff that comes off of that. So I would think that he would have the biggest natural ability to kind of leapfrog where he was last year to this year.
I feel like we got a Schlereth tailgate optimistic Bears take coming out here out of nowhere. I mean, maybe they are a 7, 8, 9 win maybe football team. What do you think?
Well, I mean, anything can happen, right? And I look at the division. Is Green Bay going to regress a little bit? They still have Aaron Rodgers. We know that. Everything is new in Minnesota, and Kirk Cousins, is a really good quarterback, but they've had tough times winning the big games there in Minnesota. Detroit looks better, but other than Green Bay, because of Aaron Rodgers, I think everything is pretty well stacked. I think they have the potential to be a much better team than they were last year. And, it's those baby steps. You win 3-4 more games. That's a huge jump in this league. And you learn how to play that way. And then you learn kind of, hey, where we're deficient, where we need to improve upon. I think all those things happen over the course of several seasons.
Buffalo's the odds-on favorite right now, Mark. Do you have the Bills in your Super Bowl?
I really haven't picked my Super Bowl teams, but they're a really good loaded team with a really good young quarterback. So if I'm picking the Bills or the field, I'd take the field, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills make it to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Let's wrap up with this. The CHGO Bears are on their way out of Chicago, Mark, apparently. Arlington Heights, Illinois. The Arlington Heights Bears. You played it on the lakefront. You stayed downtown. You lived that dream. Do the Bears not? I'm like the only guy left, Mark, I swear, that is fighting for the Bears to stay in the city despite the ridiculousness of their stadium, just for the sheer fact that they belong in Chicago. From an NFL grandiose standpoint, does Stink think the Bears belong in the city?
Well, of course they belong in the city, but hey, man, it's about the one thing I know about the NFL is it's big business, and they know how to make more money than you. And so all these stadiums, as I travel around the National Football League now, they all have these towns around them. The infrastructure is ridiculous. It's a stadium, and it's restaurants, and it's shopping centers, and it's these huge complexes, right? And it's the way owners create more revenue for the organization, so they can spend more money on free agency and everything else. So it's just the way it's going right now. So instead of arguing about it or being upset about it, you just kind of got to embrace it and just understand that that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Get on board. I got it. All right, on the way out here, you're doing great. You're crushing it media wise. We got the whole tailgate set up here. But you had 29 surgeries, right? 15 on one knee, 5 on the right, 15 on the left. Big business, all of it. So much money. Are they doing enough for the retired players nowadays, Mark?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's doing enough for anybody that retires, right? Look at our military, for crying out loud. So, no, but it's gotten a lot better. And, the big thing that you try to do as a player is leave it better for the next generation of players. And I think every collective bargaining agreement, every year that passes by, it gets better and better, and it gets better for the retired guys. So is it enough? No, but that's all right. You know what? I knew what I was getting into when I got into it, right? So I knew there was going to be injuries. I mean, it's 100% certainty you're going to get injured. And I knew there were going to be issues afterwards. And I wouldn't change a damn thing because I got to live out a childhood dream. So I'm not going to complain about it.
Pop right out of bed. or
roll. Roll out of bed.
Get moving.
Gingerly. Yes.
I get it, though. Right. You knew that it was. Nobody told you it was safe to do it, and you loved it. I got it. All right. Hey, Mark, great to see you. Appreciate the time. Congrats on all your success, and look forward to catching up down the line.
Sounds good. Take care.